Hello, I'm a Mac.
And I'm a PC.
You may begin. PC, why is there a referee here?
To make sure you play fair, Mac, so you don't go boasting about how Leopard is better and faster than Vista.
I didn't say that. The Wall Street Journal said that.
Well, let's wait for the call.
After further review, the ruling stands. Leopard is better and faster than Vista.
What? That's a ridiculous call. What are you, blind? What's the matter with you?
You're ejected.
Ejected? You can't eject me. Where am I supposed to go?
Are you an Apple? Wait, are you a Mac or a PC fan? Where are my Mac fans at? Mac. This is going to be so much fun. Are you a PC fan? We got two PC fans. You're on the far sides. Look at that. Well, enjoy your PC brotherhood over here. Okay, you got one over here and one over here, so you two can meet up in the middle at some point. Today I want to talk about, right, whose side are you on as a series. Really, it's all about a tale as old as time. Tale as old as time, a tune as old as song. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. I don't know the words. Beauty and the Beast. Thank you. I practiced that all weekend. It's a lot of work. I practiced it all week. Now, I want to talk about a human condition that is a tale as old as time. In fact, researchers and sociologists, they went into this study at one point. What they did is they grabbed 16 boys. These 16 boys were in a playground, and they looked like this. The 16 boys are in this playground. They look like that. We drew them up as Dorito chips for some reason. But that's a representation of the 16 boys. And they're all in the playground. They're just hanging out. They're having a good time. They're going down slides. They're climbing on the monkey bars. The millennials came along and took all the monkey bars out because they were too dangerous. And it's okay, I'm a millennial, I'm allowed to say that. And so they did these 16 boys, and they decided we're going to split them up into two groups. They were going to split them up into groups A and the groups B. And once you have split people up into two groups, every group needs a leader. But side works too. Every group needs a leader. So they gave him Adam. Group A got Adam and Group B got Brad. And then they gave Adam $100 and they gave Brad $100. And they said, you're going to go back into the group and, you all mix and run. Now the Dorito chips turned into X's and O's, if you're tracking. And they said, here's the deal, Adam and Brad, you have to give the money away. You cannot keep it for yourself, and you can't just give it to each other, right? Because that would be the smartest deal. It's like, I have to give it away. Okay, here, Brad, here, Adam, that's a good tradesies. And so instead he said, no, you have to give them out. You can't give them to each other. You can't keep it for yourself. You have to give it out. So Adam went and gave all of his $100 to who? Team. Nobody said team. See, that's what we do. Humans already. His team, his battle line. No, his group. Anyway, same point, right? No, yeah, he gave it to who? Adam gave his money to Group A, and Brad went out and gave his money to Group B. See, researchers, the sociologists who did this research study, they were actually shocked. They thought they were going to have to add some incentive. They thought they were going to have to add some antagonism. They thought they were going to have to start to tell Group A, about Brad, right? Brad's such the worst. Brad is the worst. Brad tried to steal Adam's girlfriend in 5th grade. And then they'd go out and be like, oh, and then war out, right? And then be like, no, I'm getting $100 here. No, they didn't have to add any incentive, no antagonism, right? Why? Because what is being discussed, what's being found through this research is that this is a tale as old as time. This is a tune as old as song, that we human beings are side takers. We love to choose sides, right? John Ortberg, in his book, Who Is This Man?, said it this way. He said, we human beings are side takers. We all tend to divide the human race into us versus them. This happens for religious reasons, but also happens because of ethnicity, culture, and language. He went on to say this, 2 of the most powerful words in the human race are us and them. In fact, if someone is in my group, I will tend to magnify their good qualities and overlook their negative qualities. If somebody is in the out group, I look for the bad and overlook the good. I look at each member of us as a unique individual. I tend to look at everybody who is one of them. Everybody say them. Everybody say them. I tend to look at everybody who is one of them as all a like. And we have this us versus them. It's everywhere in our society, right? It's everywhere. You could go to sports, you could talk Yankees versus Red Sox, and immediately it's like everybody separates. If you're like me, I'm a Michigan fan, so if you talk Michigan, Ohio State, we hate Ohio State. Boo Ohio State. Oh my God. We have a sinner in the building, everybody. Shekinah glory, Benny Hinn, backhand. Okay. That was for my Pentecostal fans, and only like 2 people got that in our church. Benny Hinn, backhand. Okay, what, like, right? Like, immediately it's separate. Boo, cheers, boo, what's happening? What, if Ohio State was in the middle of a sign-stealing scandal, I'd be like, those dirty, rotten scoundrels, the only way they ever beat us is because they cheat, but because we're in the middle of a sign-stealing scandal, it ain't true, none of it's true, and even if it is true, even if it is, we would have beat them anyway, big deal, like it's a big deal. Right? Why? Why do I think that way? Just simply because I wear the M logo on my chest on Saturday. No other reason. That's it. I'm true blood. These colors don't run, baby. Come on. Like, this is PlayStation versus Xbox. It's Apple versus Android. Where my Apple fans at? I'm so sorry for those of you who have an Android. Some people had to reap the fruits from the world, and other people had to get the leftovers. It's the way it works. So sorry for you Android individuals. It's Nike versus Adidas. It's Republican versus Democrat. Pastor, don't tell me we going there. Oh, please. It's been going on for generations, for millennia. It's tracing all the way back to the beginning of human existence. And if you didn't know this, Jesus had the exact same situation going on in his day and in his way, and much more extreme than Nike versus Adidas or Michigan versus Ohio State, even though that's a very extreme situation. But he had it going on way more. And what we say a lot here at the church is we have to often go back there and then in order to arrive at here and now. In other words, you need to go back to what Jesus was looking at there and then in order to find really good, strong, applied truths that we can walk in here and now. Another way we say it is if you want to understand the words of the Bible, you're going to have to understand the world of the Bible. So if you could journey with me for a moment, let's go back into the world of the Bible for a moment and just see for a moment what Jesus was looking at, the actual geographic lines that Jesus was dealing with. And if we put this map up, I'm going to let you in on a little secret that some of us wouldn't know if we didn't know the area or the region. If you see here, you see Dead Sea here, and you see the river splitting up the middle, and then you see the Sea of Galilee, and there's some bodies of water. Well, in Israel at this point in time, there's 2 very distinct groups and sections of land right here. You have, this side is the good side. This is the Michigan side, the Apple side, if you're tracking with me. And then this side, you have, right, this is the evil side. This is the land, right? And this represented this in Israel, actually. This is the journey in the desert right here. This little part right here is where they journeyed for 40 years. This is where they had to keep having a traveling God just to get him everywhere, to walk with them. This represents bondage over here. This represents slavery. This represents not walking into the promise, but walking in a faithless relationship with God. This represents pagans. This represents everything horrible in their society. And then if you just get across the river and cross over to this side, this represents the promise. This represents purpose. This represents life. This represents the literal land that was promised to us. That right there is Jerusalem. You see Jerusalem? That represents literally where God lives and dwells. No more traveling God. No, God lives and dwells on this side. And that's really important to understand, because when Jesus shows up on planet Earth, where he starts doing all of his miracles and all of his ministry and all of his teaching? Do you know where he does it? The good side, the Michigan side, the Apple side. right? He's sitting over here, and listen, Jesus gets up, and he's doing amazing. He's healing everybody. He's preaching with the best of, he's teaching. He's dropping wisdom like nobody else. He's doing the most incredible things. It's so incredible. I mean, if you're not getting the picture, this is hometown hero, bro. That's what's happening. They're like, hometown hero showing up, and he's showing out every time. He's just lobbing softballs to himself, knocking them out of the park. And everybody, the 12 disciples even, they're like, yes, kingdom come, thy will be done. Let's go. We about to win. We about to reign. This about to go down. Too much? It's about to go down. And this is where he's doing all of his ministry. And if you were in the region at the time, you genuinely thought, and you could track this with theologians and historians, and you could track this with the disciples. The disciples thought, this is our guy for our, everybody's going to say side when I do that this next time. This is our guy for our, okay, one more time because it felt good that time. This is our guy for our side. That's our guy for our side. They're loving him. This is the best. And then Jesus has this crazy idea. And if you didn't know, if you didn't understand the context, now you get the geography, you can see it. But Jesus says these words that's really, really unbelievably monumental. He says them in Mark 4, I think it's verse 35. You can put it up. It says, Mark 4:35, that day when evening came, he said to his disciples, let us go over to the other side. If you're a disciple, I'm thinking you're thinking one of two things, right? Because anytime somebody came from this side to that side, it was to wage war. It was to take. It was to conquer. It was to steal, right? It was to win. We're going to go win. We're going to go beat them. And anytime somebody from this side went over to that side, it was to do the same thing, to win, to conquer. And so if you're disciples, you're thinking one of two things. Either one, more likely, here we go. It's about to go down. We was waiting. Now we got J.J. McCarthy on the team. We've been waiting for a QB with an arm. We've been waiting for the guy who can give us the win. We've been waiting for Steve Jobs to show up. We've been waiting for the cat. Oh, now we got him. Oh, and he got power, y'all. You don't even understand. He got authority, y'all. You don't even understand yet. He'd be healing people. He'd be walking on water. He'd be doing all types of things. Oh, now we're going over to the other side. It's about to go down. You know, or they're like, Jesus, not the other side. Don't go to the other side. Why would we go to the other side? We need to stay on this side. You need to keep doing things for this side. Don't go to the other side. Well, no, one of those two. But Jesus says, let's go over to the other side. And so Jesus, what? They get in the boat, and they row over the boat. And by the way, it's too much context. That's okay. We'll come back to it another week. So Jesus shows up. He leaves that side, and he comes over to this side. And you know who's there waiting for him? Let me just pause for a second and ask the question, right? If you heard somebody in Syracuse, actually, I'm just going to tell you, actually. You know the Sea of Galilee, it's really a lake. It's a lake. It's called Lake Tiberias now, but it was called the Sea of Galilee back then. You know it's only 8 miles wide, meaning when you pull up on it, because I was just there, meaning when you walk up on it, you can see the other side. Just like, there it is. That's it? Yeah. That right there. Yeah. Like Uncle Bob's lake house? Yep, that's it. Like it's right there. And so if you were living on, let me just make it even better, right? I was going to say Syracuse and Watertown. It ain't even that. If you were like Watertown and Carthage, it ain't even really that. In other words, if you have heard about somebody on the other side has been healing people, he's been teaching people, he's been giving people, he's been feeding people. He's been doing incredible things. If you've been hearing that type of testimony, and then he says, I'm coming to your town, what do? What do? I'm running to that dude. Yo, I I got an issue right here. It's got a little pinch in the neck right there. Go ahead, just touch that right there. You heal me? Okay, thank you. Also, Dad, Mom, hey, Grandpa, hey, Aunt, Uncle, everybody got to get here. Come on, we got to go. He be healing everybody up in here. Right? Right? Who's waiting for Jesus? He gets to the other side. All he does is go. The first couple chapters of Mark, the first couple chapters of Matthew, everywhere he goes, well, who shows up? Crowds show up, multitudes show up. He comes to the other side. Who's waiting for him? Nobody. No one. No one. There's one man, and he's their craziest. He's so crazy they would call him like the most dangerous man in the town. He was so crazy, he kept doing so much damage in town, they bring him out of town, and they tie him to a rock with ropes. And then they said he was so demon-possessed that he would just rip out of the ropes. And then he'd run back into town, create more damage. They grab him, they bring him back out, tie him down. This repeat process over and over and over again. Till finally he's just living out there. One crazy, demon-possessed man tied to a rock. So Jesus goes up to him, and there's so much context. Honestly, there's so much context to all of these stories. We don't have time to get into all of them. You can go read through Mark 4 through 8, some incredible things Jesus did, a bunch of meaning in between what he did even here. But Jesus takes this man, and he heals this demon-possessed man. Heals him, right? He sends the pigs, and he throws them out, and he sends them into 2,000 pigs, and they run over the coast, and they fall into the lake, and there's a bunch of pigs, cool, dead, swine stuff, lots of context, yada, 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 yada. But he has this man, he's sitting here, and then it says the townspeople arrived. The townspeople arrived. The townspeople showed up now. Now he got their attention. And so he shows up and he says, what? It says, and the townspeople were overjoyed that the man on their side that was crazy was healed. And you know, if you have the crazy one in your family, right? Everybody got the crazy one in your family where you're like, don't look at them right now. And you're like, hey, if that person gets healed, I'll believe it. You know, that type of thing. Like, that's the type of moment where you think they all get up and they all get excited and they're all coming, and it says they all come up, and then it says, and they were deeply afraid. And they begged Jesus to leave. Why would they be deeply afraid? He just healed their worst. He could certainly heal their best. I'm going to remind you, why would they be deeply afraid? Because every time somebody came from this side to this side with any type of power or authority, it was to conquer, it was to win, it was to kill, it was to steal, it was to destroy. And anytime somebody came from this side over the lake to this side, it was to conquer, it was to win, it was to kill, it was to steal, it was to destroy. So the news had officially broke. Yo, this guy's got real power, he's got real authority, he just did something to the worst of us. That means he's legit. We better get him off of our side right now, because he cannot have good intentions. He came from that side. So Jesus left. He said, okay, you don't want what I have, that's okay. I'll take off. And right before he leaves, he gets a tap on the shoulder. He turns around, it's the demon-possessed man. The demon-possessed man goes, hey, I want to come with you. Jesus says, no. You can't follow me. Now track this in scriptures, track this through the Gospels. What is Jesus saying all the time? Come follow me. Come follow me. In fact, he's like, hey, if you're willing to drop everything, then especially come follow me. Well, the demon-possessed man didn't have nothing, so he had dropped everything and was willing to follow. It's one of the few times where Jesus says, no, not you. Instead, I've got something for you. And he goes, this is what I want you to do. Go back to your own people and tell them that it's about turn or burn time. Tell them that if they don't talk the way I talk when I come back, that I will do nothing for them. Tell them if they ain't walking the way I tell them to walk, that I'm going to ruin them. Tell them that if they don't vote the way I tell them to vote, then it's over for them. Tell them that there is nothing but judgment coming their way. And unless they turn, I'm going to make sure they burn. Go give them that message. I might have got that wrong. Hold on, let's check this out. Hold on, let me read the actual, let me see. Mark 5, 17 through 20, he said, then the people began to plead with Jesus to leave the region. As Jesus was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon-possessed begged to go with him. Jesus did not let him, but said, go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you. So the man went away and began to tell the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him, and all the people were amazed. This man is given a mission from Jesus Christ himself. And he said, what? He said, go and tell them. Go and tell them the greatness I have. So this man takes this mission and he goes to his side, the wrong side of that side, but to his own people. And he begins to say, you don't understand. Someone from power, someone with power and authority did come over from that side. But they didn't come to win. They didn't come to conquer. They didn't come to steal. They didn't come to demand. They came to give us life. And I don't know about you, but he healed me. He fed me. He gave me some substance. He gave me mercy. He showed me grace. And he's telling me that it's not just for me, but it's for you and for you and for you and for you. And all you ought to do is show up on the shore. That's the message. Now, in the meantime, Jesus goes back to his side, the good side. He's back in Michigan, if you're tracking with me. Apple headquarters, however you want to have it. And he does something amazing. He does a miracle. Do you remember the miracle of the feeding of the 5,000? He does this wild miracle where he feeds 5,000. It says 5,000 men. Most historians, theologians believe it's more like 15 to 18,000 people. Could you imagine sitting on a hillside and seeing 15 to 18,000 people fed from 5 loaves and 2 fish? That's the miracle. It's incredible. We camp on that miracle. It's good. We can camp on that miracle. But there's something else that happens at the very end. Do you remember how many basketfuls were left over? 12. Y'all need to start reading the Gospels just a little bit more. 12. There's 12 basketfuls. 12. On this side. Do you know what this side represents? Do you know how many disciples there were? 12. Do you know what the disciples represented in Jesus' time and day? Time and day. Do you know why there was 12 disciples? Because it represented the 12 tribes of Israel. Do you know what this kingdom of Judah and kingdom of Israel all combined, do you know what that represented? The 12 tribes of Israel. Jesus was saying, I'm here. And I'm here to give you healing, and I'm here to give you feeding. I'm here to feed you something that's so substantial. I'm here to give you mercy. I'm here to give you grace. I'm here to give you purpose. But let me just make sure that you don't miss the point. It isn't just for the 15 to 1,000 people that sit on this hill today. I've got enough to go around for this side. I've got enough to give life to all 12 tribes of Israel. You want some bread? Come get some bread. You want some feeding? Come get some feeding. You want some healing? Come get some healing. You need some mercy? Come get some mercy. You need some grace? Come get some grace. And these people on this side start to recognize He is for us. He is for our side. He is with us. He's here to give us mercy and grace. It was a beautiful message. 12, all 12. This is incredible. Thank you, Jesus, for our side. For our side. Our side. This is the disciples in the moment. Yeah. Our side. Hometown. Yeah. Yes. Knock it out of the park. Let's go. We gonna reign. We gonna rule. Our dude's got it in the bag. Rolling with Jesus. And then Jesus has like the worst idea ever. Right at that point where you're like, we got him now. We're gonna go get him now. Jesus goes, let's go back to the other side. Could you imagine the disciples like, nah. Jesus, we died. We tried that before. Remember the crazy? They all like that, Jesus. They all like that over there. Don't pretend. Don't act like they just sent you the crazy. They all crazy. So Jesus goes to the other side. But what does he do? The moment he gets back to this side, what does he do? He comes back, it says in Mark 7:31, he goes back to the region of the Decapolis. And when he comes back this time, you know what happens? It's pretty incredible. A bunch of people show up. Everybody shows up. Why did everybody show up? Because they got a message this time that it was actually about mercy, and it was actually about grace, and it was actually about purpose, and it was actually about life being added to our side from somebody on that side. So this time they all show up, they go, okay, Jesus, do your thing. And what does Jesus start doing? He starts healing. Starts giving. And then he feeds the 4,000. That's not a duplicate story. Those are two different moments. Those are two different stories on two different sides of the aisle. In the pagan side, on the unrighteous side, in the gross side, even for Ohio State fans' side. Jesus comes over and he feeds the 4,000. And then after he feeds the 4,000, it says there are how many basketfuls left? Mark 8:8 says the people ate and were satisfied. Afterward, the disciples picked up 7 basketfuls of broken pieces that were left over. 7. Take that down. You can put that music up. What's this? What was on this side? What did this side represent? How many basketfuls? 12. Because of why? 12 tribes of Israel. And then over here, you have what? 7 basketfuls. Do you know how many nations of Canaan there were? 7. 7. Jesus explicitly and clearly is telling his disciples and people who follow him, don't get it twisted. You want to know if I have food for you? You want to know if I have healing for you? You want to know if I have grace for you? You want to know if I have mercy for you? I've got it all, and I've got it in abundance, and I'll never stop feeding, and I'll never stop healing, and I'll never stop giving mercy. But I need you to know this right here and right now, and especially if you're going to follow me, that I also have enough to go around for the other side, for the them in your life, for the people that you've demonized, for the people that you've hated, for the people that you say aren't a part of the promise. Absolutely not. From the very beginning of time, God has been about unity. He's been about the human race, and the display of Jesus Christ in this moment was saying, you want to know the other side? I've got enough healing for you. I've got enough feeding for you. I've got enough mercy for you. I've got enough grace for you to go around too. You are not a part of the promise. You're absolutely every bit a part of the promise. In the gospel, this is not an us versus a them. It's in all of us with God in one. There's a human side. Whose side are you on is a con game. Whose side are you on is a joke. There is only one side. It's God's side. And God chose the human side a long time ago. Every single human being, regardless of what you think about them, regardless of what you believe about them. You mean the neighbor that believes that? Yes. What about the person that did that? Yes. From the individual that you hate the most politically, Jesus died for them. For the individual that you can't stand because of the way they live, Jesus died for them. And he never drew a line. That was man. Humanity draws lines. God demolishes them. This is the question today for you, because this is the saddest part of the story. See, the disciples, up until this point, I would argue that they had been walking with Jesus. You can't deny that. I mean, they literally, physically were walking with Jesus. But something in them hadn't shifted. In fact, Jesus says, your heart is so hard. In fact, this is how I would say, the disciples have been walking with Jesus, but they hadn't been following Jesus yet. Jesus says In Mark 8, 14 through 21, this is the cap of all. The cap, Mark 4 through 8, he caps it right here. The disciples had forgotten to bring bread. By the way, they didn't forget to bring the bread when it was the 12 leftover baskets. Ooh, they like that message. Well, we bring the bread when it's that one. When it's the 7 basketball. Do you understand there was an immediate rejection of what Jesus had done? Not for them. Except for one loaf they had with them in the boat. Be careful, Jesus warned them. Watch out for the yeast of the Pharisees and that of Herod. They discussed this with one another and said, it's because we have no bread. Aware of the discussion, Jesus asked them, why are you talking about having no bread? Do you still not see or understand? Are your hearts hardened? Do you have eyes but fail to see and ears but fail to hear? And don't you remember when I broke the 5 loaves for the 5,000, how many basketfuls of pieces did you pick up? 12, they replied. And when I broke the 7 loaves for the 4,000, how many basketfuls of pieces did you pick up? They answered 7. He said to them, do you still not understand? Be careful of the yeast of Pharisees and Herod. Why Pharisees and why Herod? Herod was the ultimate political spirit of the day. And he was saying, if you're going to walk around with the political spirit, and Pharisees were the ultimate religious spirit of the day. And he was saying, political spirits and religious spirits, they always find a way to divide. They always find a way to draw a new line. But if you're going to be about what I'm about, if you're going to not just walk with me, but follow me, then you're going to have to be about crossing over to the other side, crossing over to the them, not just seeing the them, but loving the them, feeding the them, healing the them, giving grace to the them, giving mercy to the them, giving purpose to the them, relinquishing to the them, serving the them. That's following Jesus. Anything short of that, anytime we draw a line, that's human driven. It's not God driven. The question today for you is, will you soften your heart? It's the same question Jesus had for his disciples. After walking with him for years, are your hearts still hardened? You have eyes to see but fail to see. You have ears to hear but fail to hear. Stop drawing lines in the sand. It's childish play. Spiritual maturity, not just walking with God, following Jesus. When we take the lines down, we invite people in. We don't say you got to vote our way first. We don't say you got to walk our way first. You have to do our way first. No. Just show up to the shoreline. We'll be there to heal. Be there to feed. Be there to give. Christians listening, to the Christ followers listening. I ask you, are you willing to soften your heart? Willing to stop drawing lines? Willing to start following Jesus? Are you willing to start to understand there is no us and them, just us and God? Fellow brother on this earth and your fellow sister on this earth is a representation of God. Anytime you hate them, you're hating God. It's his creation. That's his son. That's his daughter. Every single one of them. To the outsider, if you came to church this morning because you were looking for something, but you're not so sure about Christianity, I want to say to you first, I'm sorry. At times, Christians have been the most divisive. At times, we have displayed things, and in the name of God, that are not God. They're evil. It's not godly. It's not who God is. It's not who Jesus is. We're human. We're going to continue to screw up. But I'm asking you, or I'm inviting you into a relationship with Jesus. It doesn't matter how crazy. It doesn't matter if you're the demon-possessed person. It doesn't matter if you're the disciple who's looking for a war. It doesn't matter where you're at, but if you're willing to come to the shore, I believe Jesus right here and right now would want to heal and want to feed. He wants to show you mercy. Scripture tells us that it's God's kindness that leads us to repentance. It's kindness. There's a spirit in the room right now that if you'd say yes to him, he wants to be kind to you today. He wants to show you kindness. Maybe it's the first kindness you felt in a long time. Then learn what it looks like to walk with him. Learn what it looks like to be healed by him. Learn what it looks like to be fed by him. Follow him. It's time for us to stop choosing sides. Time for us to follow God into absolute love. Every human being on the planet, especially the them. I thank you for the service. Praise you for it. I pray that we'd be a church that wouldn't be sidelined by choosing sides. That we would genuinely be about love for people, especially people who look different than us, act different than us, talk different than us, walk different than us. God, I pray that we'd be a church that's about healing and feeding and bestowing mercy. The crazier you are, the more mercy we'll show. Let that be our testimony. God, I pray that you meet us in the depths of our hearts. God, I pray against all the and buts right now. Or the yeah buts. God, I get that's part of that is part of the gospel, but, yeah, but, what you missed was, God. Still it. Quiet. It's so hard about loving someone different. God, teach us. You told us to love our enemies. You said to pray for those who persecute against us. Teach us how to love in the face of fear. Teach us how to respect those who do not respect us. Teach us how to value those who have little to no value for us and ours. Teach us what it looks like to not have a side. God, I pray for those who are saying for the first time, and if that's you today, if it's your first time, I just encourage you to say yes right now. You could say it out loud. You could say it in your head. You could lift your hand up, but show some type of expression of saying yes to Jesus right now, right here. God, I pray for those. I pray that you draw near with them, be with them. And I pray that they would dig into who you are, who Jesus is. I pray that they dig into the Gospels and really look and peer into who Jesus Christ was and what he was all about. God, I pray that they would walk with you, and that they would walk with you long enough that they'd start following you. I pray that this community would be a community that represents something in our area that's true love, genuine love, with the least amount of limits this side of heaven. I'll pray for that in Jesus' name. Amen.